Alright, and we're back, and what we're going to do is now start the transfer process. This is where we need a brush or your hands, or you can use a foam brush to apply the gel medium to the surface. You also need to have your images ready as well. And then I always have a rag handy because it gets pretty messy, or it can get messy. Another thing something to be mindful of is when you do use a brush, it can leave brush strokes. And this will affect how the image will transfer. So if you're going for this look, this old look where it's kind of scratchy, then definitely don't be afraid to leave brush strokes. It kind of looks cool. And when you're applying the gel medium, you don't want to apply it too thick or too thin. If it's too thin, it will dry too fast, and then the image won't have anything to stick to. If it's too thick, the image may shift and it may bubble. Another thing I wanted to talk about too was the textures of the gessoed versus non-gessoed. So I hope you can hear this. Right? So it provides that texture. So all of the ones that have some sort of substance on it have that gritty kind of texture, which is what helps the paint and the gel and the ink stick. Okay, so we're gonna start applying, and oh, I'm nervous. Okay, so I'm gonna apply, let's see, I think I want the colored one on this, so I'm going to just put this on here so you can see the brush strokes, which is fine. Okay, so that's a pretty good consistency. Another thing you can do is also put it on your image like this. That also helps it transfer. I especially do this when I'm transferring faces. I put some gel on the surface and then transfer that way. So I'm just going to put it face down, and then this is where your handy card comes in, and you apply even pressure and you smooth it out. So there's going to be excess gel, so you just wipe it off, and you don't want to get gel on the back. If you do, that's okay. It just makes it harder to remove. So nice and even. You want to make sure that you face it down, because the ink, that's what makes the ink stick to the gel. If you think of the gel as glue, that's how it kind of transfers. If you accidentally put it face up, don't worry, because you can just create a collage and paint around it as well. I've done that before when I was first starting to learn how to do this, and what I did was I just just worked with it as a collage instead. If you don't have one of these, you can use a old cereal box or any cardboard that you might have laying around. You can just cut a piece out and use it. As long as it has a nice edge, smooth edge, then that's good. You can also use this part of your hand because it's kind of I forget what that thing's called, but it buffs it out, right? So yeah. The one thing you want to make sure is that the air bubbles are out. I see a little indent with the leather right here, so the image might not transfer in that area, which is fine. I'll just work with it. I don't even know if this is going to work, so we'll see. So there's that one. And then I'm gonna put this one on, and I'm going to use a black and white one for this one. So I wanted to, you can find the way you want it to transfer. that way. And you only need to, oh, there's a chunk. So make sure there's no chunks because that'll affect how it transfers too. What was I gonna say? Don't remember. Oh, you don't have to apply the gel all over the surface, just where you're gonna be applying the image. These chunks are driving me nuts. Okay, and I'm just gonna go. That's pretty good. So as long as you can feel like a pretty like smooth consistency of the medium, it should be good. Okay, so then I'm gonna go put this face down. So you kind of want to work from the outside or from the inside out. So if you noticed, I started from the center of the image and pushed out. Okay, so see how this is kind of, the paint's coming off? You want to make sure your paint's dry enough. So obviously I didn't wait long enough, but that's okay. Oops. Pretty good. Looks like all the air bubbles are out. Okay, and now we're gonna try, let's see, transferring with, on this one, with half gel and half acrylic paint. Ooh, maybe that's too much. Yeah, definitely too much. Oops. That's what I got a rag for. We'll see how this goes. Do I do the colored one? Maybe black and white. Okay. And then this one is gessoed, and then I'm just gonna, you can also get a clear gesso. So it's just like the white gesso, but it's clear and it provides that surface. So if you wanted to prime a piece of wood and you wanted the grain to show through, but you still wanted it to have that texture where it's not porous or absorbent, then you would get a clear gesso, or a clear gesso. This one's a little harder because it's a little ripply, so I know there's going to be bubbles. But on like a wood panel, there wouldn't be ripples because it's pretty thick. Like I can tell it's already lifting there. It's okay, we'll see. It's all about experimenting. So if you like this technique, then you can go ahead and like experiment on different materials and let me know how it goes. Like I'm curious to see, right? So now I'm just gonna rub this with my hand so I can feel a little bit more. So once you smooth out all the air bubbles and all the edges are smooth, what you want to do is leave your surface overnight to dry. Overnight is best because then it has time to adhere to the surface. You can weigh it down with an object. I usually put a book and then a heavy object so the pressure is even, and that really seems to help the image adhere to the surface. Another option is if you have a limited amount of time, then what you want to do is you can tell it's dry by touch. So when I touch, this one's warmer than these ones. This one's the coldest because I just did it. So yeah, just by, if it's room temperature, then you should be good to remove the paper pulp off the back. And yeah, so I'm gonna let these dry for a little bit. I'm gonna clean up a little bit of my mess here, and then I'll be back for the next steps.